Hello, dear students. Welcome again in this nuclear physics class. So, we are talking about the beta transition, and in our previous lecture, we have discussed about the rate of transition for this beta decay. So, that is the derivation of Fermi theory of beta decay. And in our today's lecture, we will discuss this transition probability by applying the Coulomb correction, and then we will discuss about the spectrum of this beta particle, that is how it is being changed for this electron emission and for the positron emission, and then we will discuss about the concept of comparative half-life and how the dependence of this allowed and forbidden transition it is based on this comparative half-life derivation. So let us start our lecture. So in our previous lecture we have discussed about the rate of transition probability, generally denoted with omega, so that is equal to g square over 2 pi q h bar the power 7 c q MIF, that is the matrix element, and PB, that is the momentum of a beta particle, EM minus EB, that is the momentum of a beta particle, and this is dPb, that is the change in momentum of beta particle. So this is the expression of a transition probability. Now let us introduce the concept of this Coulomb correction. Now we have seen that the electronic wave function, so that is the matrix element, it is dependent upon this electronic wave function and this neutrino wave function. So this electronic wave function phi b, so it is affected by this Coulomb field of this nucleus, because this is a charged particle, that is the beta particle, and this neutrino and antineutrino, they are neutral particle. So hence this beta particle wave function, it cannot be a planar wave, so which we have assumed in our expression. So introducing this the Coulomb correction for this phi b expression, so that becomes a non planar wave solution. So when we introduce this Coulomb correction term in this phi b expression, then we will get out the Fermi function that we generally denoted with Fz. So it is equal to phi b 0. So when we have not considered any Coulomb correction, square over phi of beta. So when we have uh, this planar wave solution, so this Fermi function, so this term it is being added in this transition probability, so that is equal to 2 pi eta over 1 minus exponential of minus 2 pi eta. So this eta is generally dependent upon this Coulomb factor. So here this phi beta free, this is the electronic wave function in the absence of Coulomb effect. And this numerator term, this is when we have considered these Coulomb corrections. So this Coulomb factor eta, so that is equal to Ze square over 4 pi epsilon naught into h bar v. So this is the expression for electrons, and when we introduce a negative sign, so this is the expression for positron, so this is for electron. So you can see that the value of this eta, it is negative for this positron. So the Coulomb correction increases the probability of electron emission and it decreases the probability of positron emission. So especially at the low energies. So the second factor, which is the more important, which is being added due to this Coulomb correction, is the screening of this nuclear charge by this atomic electron. So if we introduce this Coulomb correction terms into the equation of this transition probability equation, so our rate of transition, so that is basically dependent upon this momentum of beta particle. So this equation, that is the modified expression of this transition probability. So when we introduce this Coulomb correction, so this equation becomes h raised to power 7 MIF square, that is the matrix element. So we add this extra function f of z pb, that is generally known as the Fermi function, pb square em minus of eb square into delta into pb. So once we find out the rate of change of momentum of this beta particle, so which is dependent upon this matrix element, this Fermi function, and this momentum of beta particle, so that is generally the expression of density of states. So from that we can calculate the number of beta particles which are being emitted per second in this particular momentum range, which varies from p beta to p beta plus delta of p beta. So that we generally represent with as the number of beta particles which are being emitted per second. So that is generally represented with this n of p beta. So our equation, this equation becomes, so if total particles which are being emitted, that is equal to n naught, so these are the total number of particles, number of beta particles. So we will multiply these two terms. So our new expression of this particles which are emitted for this particular momentum range, so that is equal to n naught into p beta into dpb. So this is we generally known as the momentum distribution of emitted beta particle. So in this particular momentum range, so we generally write this equation as z of pb beta into pb square em minus of eb square into dpb. So this a term, so that is dependent upon this matrix element. So we can rewrite this equation. So a is g square n naught 2 pi cube c cube h bar 7 into matrix element. So for allowed transitions, the value of this matrix element, so which we generally consider as equal to 1. So the value of this a constant term, so for this allowed transition, that is equal to h bar is to 7. So this is a constant term for allowed transitions. So From this we can find out the total energy of these emitted beta particle, and then we will can drive these number of particle particularly for this positron emission and for this beta minus emission, and how they are changing with respect to these energy of the particle. So let us try to study how the shape of this beta particle it is being changed with respect to emitted energy. So the total energy of beta particle, so that we generally consider as the kinetic energy of beta particle plus the rest mass energy. So this we can write down as pb square c square plus me square into c raised to power 4. So this we can write down as e beta plus mec square whole square, which is equal to pb square c square plus me square c raised to power 4. So this we can write down as a plus b square, which is equal to a square plus b square plus 2 into a into b. So this becomes pb square c square plus me square c raised to power 4. So this get cancelled. So what we get is e beta square plus 2 into e beta me c square, which is equal to p beta square c square. So let us say this is our equation number 1. So our basic purpose is to find out the value of p beta, and then we will find out this p beta value and put it in the transition probability term. So if we differentiate this equation number 1, so with respect to uh, p beta, so what we get is 2 eb into d of eb plus 2 mec square into deb, so which is equal to 2 c square p beta into dpb. So from that we can find out this momentum pb into d of pb, so that is equal to eb plus mec square over c square into d of eb. So let us say this is our equation number 2. So what we get is pb into tb d of pb. So putting these two equations in this n of pb into d of pb, so this is equal to a into f of zpb, so that is the Fermi function pb square em minus of eb square into d of pb. So this number we can write down this momentum equation in terms of energy n of eb into d into eb, so that is equal to n into pb into dpb over c square. So this equation becomes a over c square into f of zpb. So this we can write down as pb square we can break down into pb into e beta plus mec square into Em minus of E beta square into d of Eb. So this we have broken down and putting the value of this p beta term in this equation. So this is what we get. So that is our equation number 3. So we can rewrite this equation as n of E beta into d into E of beta a over c square into f z into pb. So putting the value of this pb, so that is equal to eb e beta plus mec square under root over c into eb plus mec square em minus of eb square into d into eb. So this is the value of this PB which we have introduced, this Bractor term. So that we have introduced from this PB square. So when we move this C square term to this denominator side, so this is from equation number 1. So this is from equation number 1, we have introduced this value and this is what we get. So our modified expression of this total number of beta particle emitted per second, so in this energy range, that is from EB to EB plus D into EB, so that is equal to A over C cube F of ZPB and the whole equation, EB plus MEC square under root EB plus ME square into D into EB. So this we can consider as another constant, so that is equal to constant C. So this equation becomes constant C into F of ZPB, and since the value of this EB, that is very small as compared to this MEC square, so these Bractor term it get cancelled out with respect to this term. So what we get is under root of EB into EM minus of E beta square into D into E beta. So from this there are two cases. So for low atomic number nuclei, for low z, the value of this Fermi function, so that is equal to 1, because there are less Coulomb interaction which is being considered. So for this low atomic nuclei, so this makes this number n of EB is equal to 0. So that is it does not have any significant effect for this low number nuclei. So for higher atomic number, higher Z, so we have to consider this Coulomb interaction. So we have to consider Coulomb correction. So for beta minus emission, so our this Fermi function, this becomes 2 pi into eta, that is equal to 1 over under root of E beta. So this equation, that is the number of beta minus particles which are being emitted per second, so that is directly proportional to putting the value of this Fz into under root of EB E minus EB square into D into EB. So what we get is NEB into DEB, that is directly proportional to EM square into D into EB. So similarly we can find out for this beta plus emission. So the value of this Fermi function, so that is equal to 1 over under root of EB into exponential of minus beta into under root of EB. So where beta is the distance between this interaction, so the value of this N into EB into D into EB, so that is directly proportional to EM square into exponential of minus of B over under root of EB into D into EB. So when we plot the value of this beta minus emission and beta plus emission, so what we get is this side it is the energy of beta particle, this side we have N of EB into D into EB. So if this is the shape of a beta spectrum with no Coulomb interaction, so this is for beta minus and this is for beta plus, and the central line, so when there is no Coulomb effect. So this is how you can see that the spectrum of beta particle, it is being changed for beta plus and beta minus when we add these Coulomb correction terms, and from that we can find out the maximum energy of these emitted beta particle, and we can write down this equation N of PB over PB square into F of ZPB. So that is equal to constant C into EM minus of EB. So when we plot this function with respect to EB, so if we plot the left hand side of the term with respect to this energy of beta particle, so this is something like N of PB over PB square into F of ZPB under root with respect to EB. So this gives a maximum line, and this graph is generally known as the Curie plot, because the value of this Curie plot, so it is different for different particles, and this gives the value of this maximum energy of emitted beta particle, and it is something like if it is varying for this value, this is for beta plus, and if it is going somewhere here, so then it is for beta minus. So this change in energy for this beta plus and beta minus, so this is being identified from this Curie plot. So the maximum energy for beta minus obtained from this Curie plot. So this is here, this is for beta minus and this is for beta plus. So the maximum energy for beta minus and beta plus particle obtained from this beta spectrum emitted for this copper 64 nucleus, so that is of the order of 571 and 657 mega electron volt. So this is how we can exactly find out the maximum energy which is being distributed. So this graph, that is the Curie plot, it is a function of this number of emitted particle with respect to the maximum energy, and this provides a good mean of determining the maximum energy of this beta spectrum. And so this is very important. And so next we will discuss about the comparative half-life of this beta decay. So from the Fermi theory of beta decay, which provides a good relationship between this decay constant of the nucleus and the maximum energy of this emitted beta particle. So we generally represent this rate of transition, so that is generally also denoted with this decay constant. So if we integrate the equation of this transition probability, so that is this ppb into d into pb, so that is generally the rate of transition. So I will rewrite this equation. So 2 pi cube c cube h bar 7 f into z into pb em minus eb square into dpp. So this is our transition probability, and if we integrate this equation uh, for the change in momentum range from 0 to maximum pm, and this will give us the decay constant of this nucleus for this beta decay. So the decay constant we can find out if we integrate this momentum equation. So this gives a constant c, so which comes outside. So this Fermi function, it is a function of momentum pb square em minus eb square into d into pb. So let us say this is equation number A. Here this constant term is equal to g square 2 pi cube c cube h raised to power 7 into mif square. So this integration, it is carried out using the energy transformation. So if we rewrite this momentum equation in terms of energy, so the value of this E of beta, so that we generally written as EB over MEC square, and this eta, that is the Coulomb factor, which is equal to PB over MAC. So from this we can find out this EM minus of EB. So this equation becomes maximum energy Pm square C square plus Me square C raised to power 4 minus of Pb square C square plus Me square C raised to power 4. So this becomes under root of 1 plus eta m square minus of 1 plus eta b square. So if we put the value of this pb over mec, so this is what we get. So this is our equation number B. So put this equation B in equation A. So we get this decay constant, which is equal to g square 2 pi cube c cube h raised to power 7 mif square. So this momentum integration now turns into from 0 into eta of m f into z into eta m e square c square into eta b square into m e square c raised to power 4 into 1 plus eta m square under root minus 1 plus eta b square under root. So this is the value of em minus eb square into mec into dn. So solving this equation, so what we get is g square c raised to power 4 m e the power 5 to mif square over 2 pi cube into h raised to power 7 0 into eta m 1 plus eta m square under root minus 1 plus eta b square under root square eta square into dn. So from this, for low atomic nuclei, the value of this Fermi function, so that is equal to 1 for low z. So this decay constant, so this we generally write as g square c raised to power 4 m raised to power 5 over 2 pi cube h bar 7 into mif square. So if we represent this integrated term, so that is as a function of f into eta into m. So the probability of this beta decay, it increases with increasing value of this matrix element, that is mif square. So this factor f into eta m, it is a constant which is dependent upon this matrix element, which further dependent upon the wave function of this initial and final state nuclei and the wave function of this beta particle. So the value of this we can write down. So generally the decay constant, which is equal to 0.693 over half-life period, so that is tau into 1 by 2. So this right hand side equation, so we can equate, so this becomes f into eta into m into mif square, so that is equal to 2 pi cube h raised to power 7 log of 2. So this is the value of log of 2 over g square c raised to power 5 m e raised to power 5 into tau 1 by 2. So from this I can rewrite this equation. So this f into tau n into the half-life period, so that is equal to 2 pi raised to power 3 h raised to power 7 into log of 2 over g square c raised to power 4 m e the power 5 into mif square. So this term is a constant because all these factors, they are the constant values. So the value of the right hand side of this equation, so it depends upon the equation of this matrix element. so which in turns depends upon the initial and final wave function of this parent and product nuclei, and this also depend upon the value of this G, that is the strength of this weak interaction which is causing this beta decay. So the left hand side of this equation, that is this term, that is generally known as the comparative half-life. So this equation shows that the larger is the value of this matrix element MIF square, the comparative half-life will be smaller. So smaller values of this comparative half-life, that is if the value of this comparative half-life it is small, so it indicates that the larger probability of beta decay. So what does it mean? So the larger will be the probability of beta decay. So that means that transition of beta decay is a allowed transition. So the smaller value of this comparative half-lives, so they generally represents the allowed transitions, while the larger values of these comparative half-lives, so they represents the forbidden transitions. So from the value of this comparative half-life, so it becomes easy experimentally in order to distinguish between this allowed and forbidden transitions, and this we have already discussed in detail about what are the allowed transition, what are forbidden transition. So this is all about for today's lecture. So in our next lecture we will discuss about the electron capture process and derive the expression of rate of transition for this orbital electron capture. So till then, goodbye. So if you have any doubts you can write in the comment box or you can ask on WhatsApp groups. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye.